night, the Food and Beverage Fest. Understand another success.
Yep, just a huge shout out to all the people that helped plan it. But really, we had 23 amazing vendors, 320 people or so, all paid $25 from 6 to 8, home by 9 o'clock. Just really awesome to see everybody come together. Shout out to like Larry and Mark Mangler and Caitlin Evers, myself, core team, Clinton National Bank, they and all that. And it's really fun. It's great to see all the food options that we have. Everybody's as they're walking around, you hear a lot of times like, let's try to haven't been to Backshop Pizza yet, or I forgot Hooks has food and things like that. And like Australia's always kind of highlights as sirloin and different catering type things and all that. It's just a really awesome layout. It's crazy to see how many like distilleries and breweries and wineries we have in our area. And so
how did this all get started?
Yep. So it got started. Mark and Larry Mangler, the insurance group, they basically wanted to bring back. I guess the chamber used to do, or somebody used to do this kind of like 20 years ago or so. And so I think it was 2019 or so. And so Mark, I think, golfs with like Mike Rastrelli and the Thorntons. And so they're like, we could do that. So we had 2 people in. And so they're like, okay, we got 2 vendors at least. And let's see what we can do. And it's been an event that sells itself out every year. There's a huge waiting list, and it's just
so there is a waiting list.
Yep, I think after about 40 people, I finally started telling people like I'm just lying to you when I say there's a waiting list. Like there is, but nobody cancels, or if they do, they sell them to friends right away and all that. And it's like even if you were to be on a waiting list, I know that there's not going to be 40 open tickets and things.
So the proceeds go to the museum?
Correct. Yep. So we net 11,000 off of this event. It's one of the reasons. So how did it start? Also, is that January is a slow month for retail, museums. It's right after Christmas and all that. So it's one of our slower months. For a lot of our food vendors, it's a slower time for them as well. And so it was just a great little thing. We chose Thursday just because restaurants are busy on the weekends. They flip-flop Mondays and Tuesdays, whether it be an open. Wednesday's church night, so you're left with Thursday. We didn't know how the Thursday night would go the very first year and all that, but that's just what it is. It's to fill in that that January where it's basically birthday parties and programs is the main traffic, because there's not a lot of people touring right now, especially on a day like today, even though we did have a guy who was driving from Connecticut to Colorado who stopped in a couple hours ago.
Really?
Yep.
How did he find out about it?
So he, I think it's all our billboard, but this is what he does is, instead of flying, he just always tries to take the back roads of America. And, so he took Highway 30. He's going to take Highway 30 as far as he can, and then hopped through Colorado and down to Utah and all that. And you just think,
how old a guy was he?
I always like to say 65 plus or minus.
Okay, so just driving on his own?
Driving on his own, going to go ski. Yep.
So the Food and Beverage Fest, obviously, I don't think you would have had one in 2020, or did you?
We actually did. We had one.
Because it was prior, because the COVID hit in March.
Yep.
And were you back in 2021?
We did not come back in 2021. We took that off, but then came back last year.
Okay.
And so, this would be our 4th year out of 5, or however that math works.
And a lot of repeated people? I mean,
so there's a...
outside of the waiting list?
Yeah. There's a good amount of people. But what's really nice to see for this event is, it's a lot of new faces, lots of... you hear that all the time. People, this is their kind of excuse to come check the museum out. What a better way to, see what's actually in the museum than, going to White River Winery and Great Revivalist and Big Grove and 5 Cities and Promised Land Winery, Driftless Glen, Mississippi River Distillery, and I don't know if I'm forgetting another alcohol vendor. But and you go, sip on something and then go eat some food and some desserts. And before you know it, Yeah, and then usually you see people start playing with the exhibits and all that by the end.
Again, visiting with Matt Parbs of the Sawmill Museum. New exhibits, Model T.
Yep. So a couple months ago, we acquired Bob Holleran's 1916 Model T, and we built, working with Octographics, they did some really cool wall decals for us to tell the story for why we have the Model T. One of the cool parts about the Model T is, of course, a lumber baron wouldn't be caught dead on a Model T. They wanted a few extras, or at least one extra zero behind the $500 Model T for their cars. The Model Ts really did change a lot of things. And you see the Eclipse Gabriel lumber. They were using Model T trucks to move lumber and all that. And so it's really neat. Of course, it's in pristine condition, and it's just a nice little added touch.
Now, is this something that's always going to be an exhibit at the Sawmill Museum?
What's great is it's funny you mentioned that. It did replace a thing we've had for 4 or 5 years, and that's what we try to do. Is we have room to build new things, but we're also try to repurpose space. Or we are getting there where some things. We were just talking about that a couple of days ago. Is do you the cabins? Do you reorient them so you open more space and do a fun thing there? That's what all museums do. While you might love something, you do sometimes have to let it go and get a whole new thing. So we've got always have a master list of projects and interior and exterior to do to try to keep things new and fresh and people through the doors.
Fire exhibit.
Yep. So here's a neat little shout out. You've got Bob Dorn and JD Dorn. Everybody knows either one of them usually. Yep. And so Bob's son Brandon has an exhibit company. Well, he works out at Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so I actually just cold called these people one day, and it turns out that, all those local connections. So we built the shell like last year, just a couple months ago, we finished it. And it's really neat. So it tells the fire story. So obviously when everything's built out of wood, one spark and there goes both profit and houses. And so my favorite little thing, and it's fun to watch kids play, is they built a horse racing track. So there's almost like they look like Rich's toys. And so you get these 3 pieces. You've got the fire unit, a base with wheels like a Pinewind Derby car, and then horses. And they attach by magnets and all that. And you create this 3 little piece thing, and then you line them up, and there's 5 tracks, and you race them, and you see who can get to the end of the track. And then there's a really awesome video that goes along with that. And what's really neat is every time Bob Dorn comes in, he starts the video because it's his other son, Gabriel, who's an award-winning documentarian who does the narration and all of that. So it's really neat to think of. That's what I enjoy. It's like those local connections. Yeah. Only me or you, if I tell you, we know. Yeah. But it's like
I know JD.
Yep. Yeah.
It was a block down the road from me.
Okay. Yep. So yeah. So JD helped build the exhibit and all that, and that's what we enjoy. We enjoyed. I was beyond ecstatic when to find. Yes, they're from Grand Rapids, but it's all local people. And it was like when we're building the exhibit, he's like, "Oh, I know Dave Schutte. Let me call up Schutte," and things like that to get pieces. And they know the story and they know the town, and just little things like their guy who is from Michigan, but you can tell that Brandon's telling the story and gets them hyped. And our display cases, instead of just regular laminated maple look, this guy took the time to rip rough cut trim pieces and then glued rough cut things on that, which is those little added touches that guy just did on his own and whatnot. And so there's those little things that's really neat to see. And so that's the fire exhibit.
All right, we're visiting with Matt Parbs of the Sawmill Museum. Coming up will be a check of the weather.
Where do you begin to look for a Valentine's Day gift? The Apothecary. At Whimsical Wonders in Clinton, the list goes on, like new herbs and spices, organic tea mixtures, accessories, smudge tools, mortar and pestle sets, cauldrons, and so much more. How about bath time supplies, including bath bombs, salts, lotions, sugar scrubs, and homemade soaps, all with organic ingredients. Find them on Facebook and be sure to check their Facebook page for various classes and workshops. Whimsical Wonders, 2323 North 2nd Street in the Lions Shopping District.
It's time now for the Storm Track 8 weather forecast, brought to you by Midas.
Winter is here. The Clinton Midas is ready to prepare you for whatever old man winter throws your way. Be sure to get started with an interstate battery, good visibility with new wipers, and of course, you are going to want the Clinton Midas to service your vehicle. And oh yes, tires. The Clinton Midas can fit your vehicle with the proper tires so you can be assured of a sure grip on the road. All this and naturally brake. The Clinton Midas, 1432 Lincoln Way, phone 242-2511. You will be ready for winter. Trust the Midas touch.
Tracking some snow showers this morning, a quick dusting of accumulation with windy conditions. We'll see temperatures in the upper 30s this afternoon. Partly cloudy tonight. We drop to the upper teens, and snow still on track for much of Saturday, especially north of the Quad Cities, 1 to 3 inches. We're with your Storm Track 8 forecast. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Currently, we have overcast skies and a temperature of 35 degrees. Winds are out of the west at 25 miles per hour. This weather report on KROS has been brought to you by Midas.
Have a broken chair? Have a tabletop that needs refinishing? How about that broken door on the china cabinet? Need to get them fixed? Let the professional craftsmen at Riverside Custom Woodworking do it for you and save 20% through the end of February. Just drop off the items you need repaired or restored, and they'll work them in between kitchen projects. Save 20% on furniture repair and restoration projects now through the end of February at Riverside Custom Woodworking, just off Route 84 in Fulton.
Matt Parbs, our guest on today's program as we continue along on Men's Day. Free field trip scholarship.
Yep. So we're looking at how do you get a bunch of kids in very easily. And so one of our board members, Ann Eisenman, kind of put together a little thing, and it's called the Free Field Trip Scholarship. So any teachers listening, basically in Clinton and Whiteside County, we have a busing scholarship already, and now you have a field trip scholarship, so you can come to the museum, basically no cost, and basically it's an hour and a half, 2-hour tour, and I think we've already had 800 kids or something that went through it, and it's just been really nice to see. It's for us, we knew would happen is kids come on field trips, and then they bring their parents a couple of weeks later or months later, and things like that. So. And then, I was talking to like Bill Mashevitz and different people, we want to make sure that all the kids are introduced to this history and all that. And I'd go to classrooms and from time to time. And it's also like I can still go to a classroom, but it's so much better if you can bring them here and, just eliminate any barriers to visit. And so, some great sponsors have stepped forward to, build that fund so we can like I said, bring in field trips for free.
I want to say that you are such a great asset to our community since you have come into Clinton. What makes you so involved with Clinton?
Well, I think it's, I've been thinking a little bit about that, from time to time, from a theoretical thing, right? Because in the museum thing, sometimes you do presentations. And I think that's the big part is, you're not going to grow unless your community grows as a museum. The brass tacks, if you want to grow donors, you want to grow attendance, you want to grow people giving you artifacts and all these things, you can't just sit back and, basically hope they come to you. You got to go out and build those relationships and be seen. And so just from that kind of, that's what like Bob Church from Springfield, that's kind of what he instilled in me when I was there. So that's the root of it. And of course it's fun. Like who doesn't like to, to do these things, what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And, I could be crunching numbers or, doing things like that. And I love to talk. So
and you're a good talker.
Yep.
I didn't know you were a big football fan, and we're going to be introducing a song here pretty soon. I'm going to let you introduce that song, by the way. But so Kansas City, Cincinnati, who do you like?
So, I don't really believe his ankle is magically cured. So I'm going to go with Joey B there.
All right. And Philadelphia, San Francisco.
I've been betting against the 49ers all year. And so, therefore, I'm going to pick the 49ers.
Because you're a Philadelphia fan.
Yeah. But for the first time, it is incredible. Purdy from Iowa. Every time he does anything, Ray Gun sends me an email saying, some Purdy pun and whatnot. And I think that's pretty cool, right? Last pick in the draft. and whatnot.
It was like, I don't know if it was NFL clips or whatever, but one of the players went by Brock and he said, "You're pretty good," which he's probably heard all of his life.
His whole life. Yep.
So it's San Francisco, Cincinnati.
Yep.
In the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
What are you going with?
It's going to be a much different result than when Collinsworth got destroyed by the 49ers. It was at like 80 something. So I'm going to go with the Bengals over the 49ers, I guess.
All right. They didn't get destroyed.
I thought the
No.
Bengals lost like 49-10 or something to the
No,
49ers.
I think the 49ers had to go down the field
Okay.
and score at the end.
I don't know if I was born yet.
Probably not. So anyway, you picked out a song or an artist.
An artist.
I picked out the song.
Yes. So a little shout out to the Super Bowl. Also, Rihanna's one of my more favorite modern people, so I'm really excited for the Super Bowl. And I think it is called what?
Lift Me Up.
Lift.
I go, I love that song. I wonder who sings it. So I can play it in the morning. And now I know. Thanks to you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. You got a great Bill Mishevitz story to tell us.
Yep. So you're talking about getting involved in the community and things like that. A couple months ago in September, these German documentarians came over and they wanted to do, they did some filming throughout America on this Clinton native called W.H.D. Kerner. Kerner basically makes the first superhero in 1906 and then goes on and does all these Western scenes that become like John Ford, John Wayne movies. Actually, he's friends with John Wayne. Okay. That's not what that's the background.
No, that's good.
It gets to the point where they need somebody to talk about Kerner for the documentary, and Mishevitz and I do not back away. And maybe with not as much knowledge as Mike Carney has a lot on Kerner, but there were some things going on that Mike couldn't.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep. And so we stepped up. And then what was really cool is we had dinners and Francis Clinton Hometown Pride set them all up. And somehow or another, Dan Serp and Leslie Webster started talking. And the next day I'm up on the courthouse roof with the German documentarians, and I find Kerner's mother's house that she passes away in the shadow of the courthouse. And so hopefully Bill and I are going to be in an international documentary together, just pointing out. And Kerner came over as a German immigrant, as a toddler in like 1881 or whatever, and left in 1897. That's the lumber thing. And so it was just really neat. And you think about like Jeannie from the Clinton Public Library, the Lions Library, reached out and said, hey, they're coming in. They need a few things. And just that teamwork between all of us that came together, 15, 20 of us, that really, I think, made a really, and then we hope to do in April, bring the German back, and we're going to do the American unveiling, maybe international, at the Clinton Community College. So we at least will have the American unveiling of an international film in April. And it's all just because you said, it goes back to these meetings. People say, what happens in meetings, or why do you sit around the table? Well, this was a perfect example of all of us being able to bring something to the table. And then, maybe Mishevitz and I abused our privilege and said, we'll be behind the camera. Shucks.
No, the passion that you two have. Come on. So anyway, we got about 3 minutes left in the program. Andy Green comes in every month for the United Way, and you guys kind of spearheaded something for nonprofits. You got 2-3 minutes to talk about that.
So we do a thing called nonprofit summits, basically every couple of months. 30, 40 of us sit in a room. This one was all about in January, New Year's resolutions. As a chance just to, compare notes, compare best practices, bring in different speakers, fundraising, board development, strategic planning, trying to create programs. And, this summer, we hope to do some more of the movies with the different partners that came out of the very first nonprofit summit. So, we're trying to create events and different things that are going on. And again, just bringing everybody together. And if someone says, hey, I want to do a movie, we at the Sawmill says, hey, we've got the space. Discovery Center says, we've got the popcorn machine. Visit Clinton says, I've got the movie access. The library says, we've got this. The Park and Rec says, we've got the screen and the thing. And it goes back to just sitting around on a table and throwing the good, the bad, and the ugly all out there for everybody so we can support each other and find, ways to.
Ann Eisenman is involved with that too.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's great. You know what I like is you're from the Illinois.
Yep. Springfield.
Central Illinois.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Bill Mishevitz from Detroit. Ann Eisenman's from Oskaloosa.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Green, of course, is a Clinton native, so I'll give him that.
Yep.
his folks his dad grew up in Morrison. So
Okay.
there's an out of town touch right there. But you guys just have embraced our community.
Yeah, well, it's great. I just couldn't imagine, wherever you live. I don't know how you sit back and not just embrace where you live. And it's, great people, great town, great history. And I always like to say, from the board to you, everybody just lets me have fun. And so, that's what's great is I can just go wild and be goofy. And
people want to find out more information about the Sawmill Museum. How can they do that?
Easiest way, check us out on Facebook. Just put in the Sawmill Museum or go to thesawmillmuseum.org. Give us a call at 563-242-0343. But really the best is you got to stop by if you haven't.
What are your hours?
We're open 7 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sunday and Monday, 1 to 5.
And then there is an admission, but it's reasonable.
$6 adults, $5 children. Children are 4 to 12. Kids 3 and under are free.
Okay, and then there's things that they can do once they walk in.
Yep. Wednesdays, we've got programs. Thursdays are toddler Thursdays. During the summer, we got things. There's just, always programming and things like that, just like last night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's Friday, January 27th, and here are your local news headlines. Clinton County Police Fire Department